Americans are pulling money out of their 401ks at an alarming rate, guys. This is nuts, but this is something that we talked about that is going to happen when individuals run into hardships that I knew was going to come. Let's talk about this and how this will affect individuals that are trying to buy a home. My name is Orlando and welcome to the channel, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. Check in the description and the pinned comment. I have a newsletter that will give you more detailed information that I don't talk about on these videos, guys. I promise you, you will love it and it's free. But let's jump into this, guys. This is really important news. It says Americans are pulling money out of their 401k plans at an alarming rate. Now, remember, time and time ago, when I told you guys that this was gonna happen, when individuals are spending ridiculous amounts of money on credit card debt, when debt is so easy to get when it comes to these new credit cards, and these companies saying,
"Ooh, this 26%, we can't wait to send you that card."
that you'll end up paying the minimum payment and paying that $10,000 off for the next 30 years. That's what these companies are hoping for, these credit card companies.
Excellent.
As inflation continues to go up and everything else is going up, gas, services, trying to buy a car, everything is high now, guys. We have established that. Now that everything is high and individuals have went on vacation and done all this ridiculous things that I'm trying to tell people do not do, especially if you're trying to buy a home. You need to save your money. You need to create an emergency savings account so that if something does happen, you don't have to run to the credit card. Well, people aren't listening. Go figure, people aren't listening. So what are people doing? They're saying,
"Well, I got this money in this 401k and the way my account is set up, I'm gonna have to do this hardship."
more Americans are tapping into their 401k accounts because of financial distress. According to Bank of America data released Tuesday, the number of people who made a hardship withdrawal during the second quarter surged from the first 3 months of the year to 15,950, and an increase of 36% from the second quarter of 2022. According to Bank of America's analysis of client employee benefits program, which are comprised of more than 4 million plan participants. Now, should this surprise you? I mean, it doesn't surprise me, right? It doesn't surprise me at all, because one of the biggest things, the biggest issues that we have in this country is savings. Now, I know a lot of people will say,
"Orlando, how can you save something when you're not really making that much? Orlando, how can you save when things are continuing to go up?"
And I can sympathize with that, but especially if you're trying to buy a home, because a lot of you are watching me trying to buy a home, right? I get it, I understand, but you have to save. You have to make a way for that to happen. You can't just blame it on inflation. You can't blame it on not making enough money if you're trying to buy a home.
Start manning up.
Now, if you don't really care about buying a home and you don't really care about having an emergency savings or putting yourself in the best position financially to buy a home or to buy any other big purchase or just to keep yourself financially stable, if you don't care about any of that stuff, then hey, yeah, YOLO it out.
YOLO!
It's pretty troubling development if more people are resorting to making hardship withdrawals. He said, you understand why people do that in the heat of the moment, but the opportunity costs on that are really, really high over time. Now, guys, listen, the opportunity cost, yes, I get that. You're missing out on, keeping that money in and all that other stuff. But I really like to talk about what are the actual costs. Let's have that conversation of what it's really, really costing you today to do that. And this is the issue that I have with it, guys. We know right now that the prime interest rate is 8.5%. When you pull money out of these 401k accounts, they are using variable rates. So that means it goes up and down with the market. So let's take a look at that. Normally you get 1.5%, 2% on top of that. So we're looking at, guys, 10 to 10.5% is what your interest rate is going to be. Let that sink in. Your money that you work for that has grown to borrow your own money, it's costing you 10.5%. Where does that make sense? Make that make sense to me. Now, let's even make this crazier. You're borrowing your own money at 10.5% to pay something, a credit card that you're paying 26% on.
You didn't have to cut me off.
I know your head exploded. It had to explode. That is nuts, right? You are taking your own money that is free, that is yours, and you're paying 10.5% to pay a 26% credit card. Now, it gets worse than that, guys.
Orlando, how can it get worse?
Well, I can't leave you individuals out there who bought those homes that were overpriced. What the data that is coming out is that those individuals who overpaid got a surprise, and that surprise was from the property tax guy. That property tax guy said, yeah, you overpaid and those taxes are now due. So individuals are now getting hit with property taxes on the overpriced home at that value that they purchased. And the insurance is now going up on some of these houses. So not only are they getting hit with an insurance bill, but they're also getting hit with a property tax bill.
That's a bummer. Okay.
And some of these individuals don't have the money to pay for these things, guys. So where do they go to first? Well, they've already maxed out their credit cards. So now these same individuals are going to their 401ks and they're draining them dry by either taking the big hit, which is a no-no. They're taking the hit of the withdrawal, which is a 10%, or they're borrowing at 10.5% on their own money.
Stop it. Get some help.
Now, both of those situations are horrible, but that kind of shows you where exactly people are. And that's how it's continued to get worse and worse and worse. And what I'm afraid, guys, this is what I'm afraid is looking like it's going to happen. It's looking like if you've pulled money out of your 401k and you've maxed out your credit cards to all pay for a home that was overpriced, what is the next step after you have exhausted all of the ability to pull money out to pay for something that was overpriced, such as that home? The next step is foreclosure, guys. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. There's going to be a huge uptick in foreclosures because people have exhausted all of the ability to pull money out to pay for these overpriced homes. We're going to see a downtick in demand because I have told you guys this. When the time comes for you to purchase a home, you have to be ready. And the more and more, the longer and longer stretches that we go when it comes to being patient, the more and more people I'm starting to see that are deciding to use credit cards to live instead of budgeting, deciding to hold back that money. Some people are even spending the down payment money. The down payment money on ridiculous things like vacation, new cars, things like that, and thinking, oh, I'm going to get that money back. Instead of holding that money, I'm just going to go ahead and enjoy myself. And then when the time comes, I'll have the money to purchase that home.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
I'm here to tell you, most people won't have that money when that time comes to purchase that home in their local area. And I know people are going to be like, Orlando, why do you think people are spending money on credit cards? Well, let's take a look here. Separately on Tuesday, the New York Fed reported that U.S. household credit card debt surpassed the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever. I know. $1 trillion? $1 trillion. But yet, let it be told, you guys are not taking vacations. People are not spending their money on brand new cars. The way this is going, repos, foreclosures, they're all elevated right now, and they're going to continue to be elevated. The $45 billion increase in credit card debt helped to drive overall household debt levels to $17.06 trillion at the end of the second quarter. Come on, man. You guys got to be crazy with this debt. This is insane. There's only so much hard debt that people can handle before delinquencies really spike. Really? Well, we're actually seeing that right now. Currently, repo debt is just insane. Then we have on top of that, what happens when student loan debt comes back on? And I've been telling you guys, student loan debt is not a joke. When it turns back on, we're really going to start seeing the hardships really happen, especially because some people have not been taking that into consideration of how much a $600 extra payment is going to really affect them. Then he says, ultimately, you just have a lot of people who are doing okay, but it wouldn't take a whole lot for them to find themselves in a pretty sticky situation financially, whether that is a medical emergency, job loss, or even just student loan payments restarting. Look, I honestly, guys, I didn't even read that, and I just was telling you guys about the student loans. The student loan debt is crazy. A medical emergency, that happens all the time, guys. And job loss. We talk about job loss happening all the time and how you have to make sure that your job is stable and how you have to keep up on this news to see if your job is on the line. You guys are working these jobs, and you hear before any of us here, Ford, GM, Facebook, Google, all of these guys have internal stuff going on, and you guys hear the rumblings. Yeah, they may fire some people. They may lay some people off. Well, if that's the case, you need to make sure that you have your emergency savings account, that your credit card debt and all your debt is taken care of, so that you're not put in a situation where you can't afford this home that we're talking about. As always, I hope you got value out of this content, guys, but I'm gonna need you to watch this next video here, because I promise you, it will give you information on the housing market, financial news, and get into your first rental property. And the information you will get from that video, I promise you, it will be gold. I will see you in the next one. Thanks.